Why don't you come along with me to my picture show? Come along, come along, come along, let's go. Oh, I really like to go to the picture show. Come along with me. Do you want to hear a story? I do. Can I sing a song along with you? I'll hold the airship steady. Hop on board when you're ready. Come along with me, please do. Why don't you come along with me to my picture show? Come along, come along, come along, let's go. Oh, I really like to go to the picture show. Come along with me. Hi there, my name is Teddy Ruxpin. Welcome to my picture show. I'm really happy we can be together today because I have a special story to tell you and show you. But before we start, please pick up picture wheel number 1 and put it into the projector. Now we're ready. It's nice to be good at whatever you do, but if being the best becomes more important than anything else, you might cause some problems for yourself and other people. That happened to Gimmick one time. Why don't I tell you about it? As you probably know, Gimmick is a marvelous inventor. I guess most people think of him as the best inventor in Grundo. Gimmick also thinks of himself as the best inventor in Grundo, which is why he got into trouble. My story begins one sunny day while Gimmick, Grubby, and I were watching our friends, the Grunges, play their favorite game, Grunge Ball. Tweeg had disguised himself as an inventor, like Gimmick, and claimed to be Grundo's greatest inventor. He introduced himself to us as Winston Tweeter. We didn't realize it was really Tweeg.
Oh, did you say you were the greatest inventor in Grundo?
Tweeg nodded yes.
Pardon me, sir, but I do believe that I am Grundo's best inventor. I'm afraid you must be mistaken. Why, I could invent circles around you.
Gimmick, we hardly know Mr. Tweeter. I'm sure he's a fine inventor. Besides, it doesn't really matter who's the best, as long as your inventions help make people's lives better.
Yes, you're right, Teddy. My apologies, Mr. Tweeter.
There's a picture of Gimmick apologizing to Tweeg in slide 4. But Tweeg pretended his feelings were hurt, and he challenged Gimmick to a contest.
You mean to say, if our Grunge Ball team wins using a Grunge Ball bat of my own invention, I'll get that trunk of jewels? And if your team wins using one of your special bats, you'll get my house, and I'll have to leave Grundo forever?
Gimmick, I don't think this is such a good...
I accept. The nerve, thinking I might lose to this so-called inventor.
Well, Gimmick forgot that it doesn't really matter who is better. And now he had a big problem.
Imagine him thinking he could win my house. My house? What have I done, Teddy? Oh, dear.
I'm afraid that may not have been a good idea, Gimmick. But now we have to think of a way to win that game.
I'll start inventing something right away.
Well, we knew we'd have a good chance of winning, even without Gimmick's special bat, because the Grunges really are wonderful Grunge Ball players. When they heard about the contest, they weren't worried at all. Grunge Ball is my favorite sport. If I make it out or get a home run, from the crack of the bat, you'll be holding your hat, and you'll soon discover that you've never had so much fun. Grunge Ball is my favorite sport. It beats Grundo, golf, and boundary bowling too. No other sport's quite the same. You know I'd rather play a game of Grunge Ball with you.
So put on a Grunge Ball mitt or try to get a hit.
Pick up a couple of Grunge Balls and toss them.
There's no way to explain why it's such a gnarly game.
There's just something about it that's totally awesome.
Totally awesome.
Grunge Ball is my favorite sport. It beats Bill and volleyball, football too. There's nothing else you can name that is quite like a game of grunge ball with you. Another thing that Gimmick didn't know was who was going to be on Tweeter's grunge ball team. Tweeg went to the biggest, nastiest, and strongest creatures in Grundo, the Mudblups. Now, usually the Mudblups won't come out of their deep, dark caves because the light of the sun hurts their eyes. But this time, Tweeg had a plan. With the Mudblups on his side, Tweeg thought he'd be rid of Gimmick for good. Meanwhile, Gimmick was working hard on his new grunge ball bat. In slide 8, Gimmick is tinkering with his newest bat invention.
If I can just get the gibbet joint to bend into the transom tube. Whoops! Oh, that makes me so mad.
How's it going, Gimmick?
Just fine, Teddy. Why, with this new bat, we'll clobber Tweeter and his team. Don't you worry about a thing. With just a few more adjustments.
But I was worried. What if Gimmick couldn't invent the best grunge ball bat? The day of the game finally arrived. All of Grundo was there.
Wow, it's a radical day for grunge ball.
Yeah, awesome.
The umpire for the game was the Wizard of Grundo. He would make sure that everyone followed the rules. The grunge team was ready to start. But where was Winston Tweeter's team?
There he is, Teddy. And is that his team? Why, those are Mudblups.
You're right, Gimmick. And they're wearing sunglasses. Tweeg had given sunglasses to the Mudblups to protect their eyes from the sun.
Oh, my, Teddy. I don't think even my amazing new bat can defeat these Mudblups. I'm afraid we've lost everything.
Gimmick, the game hasn't even started yet. Remember, the Grunges are terrific grunge ball players. Don't give up. Tweeter's team, the Mudblup Mashers, were the first ones to bat. They sure could hit the ball a long way.
Oh, dear.
But fortunately for our side, the first Mudblup didn't know the rules very well. The Mudblups were so used to being mean, he tried to capture the first grunge he saw and make him a prisoner.
Hey, like, put me down, you grody mud pie.
The wizard stopped him and tried to explain the rules. But in the meantime, the Grunges were able to get the ball and tag the Mudblup out. The next two Mudblups tried to do the same thing, and the Grunge team got them out easily. Next, it was the Grunge team's turn to bat.
Here's my new bat, everyone.
Whoa, tubular. Very neat.
I just hope it works.
Go Grunges! Go Grunges! Go Grunges! The first grunge hit the ball hard. A Mudblup put up his muddy hand to catch it. But look at what happened in slide 12. The ball went right through his hand. The Mudblups are only made of mud after all.
It's a hit!
The next grunge hit the ball right between two Mudblups. The Mudblups tried to get the ball, but ran right into each other.
Run! Run!
The Mudblups didn't know their own strength. So, when they finally did get the ball, they threw it right out of the park. By the time the Grunges had finished batting, they were ahead 10-0. Now Tweeg was getting worried. His team would never win at this rate. Tweeg looked over toward the open field next to the park. And that's when he got another awful idea. Oh, it's time to take out picture wheel number 1 and put in the wheel with the number 2. Be sure the arrow on the wheel is lined up with the arrow on the projector slot. growing in the wet, marshy area of the field were some unusual plants called belly bombs. Belly bombs can give you a terrible tummy ache. Tweeg told LB to pick some belly bombs and disguise them as hot dogs. Then he would give them to the grunge team. Soon the grunges would be too sick to play. As you can see in slide 16, the grunges were eating the belly bomb hot dogs.
Hey, man, these are really delicious.
Yeah, like they really hit the spot.
Right.
I'm really starving.
Yeah, here, have another.
Tweeg's plan worked. The grunges started to hold their tummies in pain. They couldn't catch the ball when the mudblups hit it. And they couldn't hit the ball when the mudblups pitched it. Soon the grunges were behind in the game by a score of 20-10. The grunges were too sick to play anymore. They started to leave the field.
Oh, like pain, man.
Oh, no!
The wizard announced that without players, the grunges would have to forfeit the game. That meant Gimmick would lose the contest.
This is all my fault.
Don't worry, Gimmick. I've got an idea. I asked the wizard if substitutes were okay. Gimmick and Grubby and Leota and Wooly and some of our other friends and I would take the grunges' places on the field, and we would play the mudblups. Tweeter, didn't like the idea very much. But the wizard said that substitutions were allowed in the rules, so the game continued. Grubby was our pitcher. It took him a little while to get used to pitching in a grunge ball game. The first mudblup hit the ball a long way, but Gimmick was able to catch it in his special grunge ball glove. It was another of his amazing inventions.
Got it!
The next batter was the mudblup's best hitter, but he had never batted against an octopede before. Grubby threw strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3 all at the same time. Wow! Look at Grubby go in slide 20. The mudblup was out. Next, it was our turn to bat. We did pretty well, and now the score was tied. Each team had 20 runs. But 2 of our players made outs. That meant there was only 1 out to go, and the batter was the tiny wood sprite, Leota.
Yeah, all right! Come on, Leota! Yeah!
Smack one, Leota!
Leota missed the first pitch. The masher pitcher wound up his arm and threw a fastball. Leota swung her bat. She hit it! The mudblup pitcher picked up the ball and threw it to first base. But Leota was too fast. She flew right between the mudblup's legs. The masher first baseman threw the ball to second base. But Leota was too fast again. When the second baseman tried to tag her with the ball, she jumped out of the way, and 2 of the mudblups ran right into each other. Leota kept flying until she scored the winning run. We gave Leota 3 cheers in slide 24.
Hooray!
Didn't she do great, Fred? Hooray!
We won, Gimmick! We won!
All right.
Well, Tweeg hadn't expected to lose. He knew that the treasure he had promised to give Gimmick was phony. Tweeg tried to sneak away, but he ran right into our good friend, the Woolly What's-It. Woolly picked Tweeg up to bring him over to the playing field, and his disguise fell off. Hey, everybody, that isn't Professor Tweeter.
It certainly isn't.
It's Tweeg!
No one was very surprised to find Tweeg trying to cheat again.
You almost fooled us this time, Tweeg. And to think, because of my foolish pride, I nearly lost my house to you.
All of us were fooled, Gimmick. Well, let's take a look at the treasure you won.
Oh, I nearly forgot.
The Mudblops bashed the treasure chest with a bat, and the lid sprang open. Tweeg had fooled us again. The chest was filled with black coal instead of jewels.
Why, Tweeg, how thoughtful.
What do you mean, Gimmick?
Coal is the best airship fuel I know of. There's enough fuel here to get us across Grundo and back a dozen times. Thank you, Tweeg.
We boarded the airship and headed for home. What a day it had been. We won the grunge ball game and a trunk full of coal. And Gimmick learned a very important lesson. The real treasure is believing in yourself. Well, I hope you liked my story. Join me soon for another of my picture shows. Until then, bye-bye. Why don't you come along with me to my picture show? Come along, come along, come along, let's go. Oh, I really like to go to the picture show. Come along with me.